In the skies above the South China Sea, danger closed in fast. A Chinese fighter jet, roaring at full thrust, veered within meters of a Philippine Coast Guard plane carrying journalists, its shadow looming over the disputed Scarborough Shoal. Below, warships from China and the United States watched each other in tense silence. This is not just another patrol. This is a flashpoint where one wrong move could ignite a regional crisis. Tensions in the disputed South China Sea escalated sharply on August 13th after a Chinese fighter jet intercepted a Philippine Coast Guard, or the PCG aircraft carrying journalists over the contested Scarborough Shoal, also known as Bajo de Masinloc. The Philippine aircraft, a small Cessna Caravan turboprop, was conducting a maritime domain awareness flight to monitor Chinese activity following a separate confrontation 2 days earlier. A Reuters journalist on board reported that the Chinese J-15 fighter closed in dangerously, at times manoeuvring just 200 feet above the PCG plane and within roughly 500 feet laterally. PCG spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea Commodore J. Tariella confirmed the encounter lasted around 20 minutes.
Approximately, it came close as near as 500 feet, and for 20 minutes it conducted dangerous maneuvers with such distance, and even above the aircraft of the Coast Guard aircraft, at an approximate height of 200 feet.
During the flight, the crew heard radio challenges from one of 2 Chinese Navy vessels spotted below, with the warship identified as Plan Vessel 553 ordering the Philippine plane to leave immediately. The PCG also reported sighting 4 China Coast Guard ships. Bow numbers 5,303, 4,202, 3,502 and 5,306, patrolling near the shoal, along with several vessels identified as part of what PCG described as Beijing's maritime militia.
The PCG also observed 4 China Coast Guard vessels, 5303, 4202, 3502 and 5306, alongside 6 Chinese maritime militia boats situated outside the shoal area. Notably, the damaged CCG 3104, which was involved in a collision with the PLA Navy, is no longer in the BDM vicinity. Additionally, the PCG Caravan aircraft encountered 5 radio challenges from the PLA Navy vessel 553, while another PLA Navy warship, 568, trailed the 2 U.S. Navy vessels in the area.
The same morning, 2 U.S. Navy ships, the littoral combat ship USS Cincinnati and the destroyer USS Higgins, were observed around 30 nautical miles from the shoal. According to Tariella, the US vessels were shadowed by China's PLA Navy vessel 568.
At the same time, while they were also flying over the vicinity of Bajo de Masinloc, they monitored the presence of PLA Navy 568 tailing the 2 US naval vessels.
Beijing's Southern Theater Command later claimed it had driven away the USS Higgins, saying the American warship had entered the waters without Chinese approval and seriously violated China's sovereignty and security. The Chinese Defense Ministry said,
"The destroyer USS Higgins illegally entered China's territorial waters off Huangyan Island without the approval of the Chinese government."
The USS Higgins is a warship with the US 7th Fleet, based in Yokosuka, Japan. Beijing further accused the US military of seriously infringing its sovereignty, adding that America's actions
severely undermine peace and stability in the South China Sea and violate international law and basic norms governing international relations.
The US Navy's 7th Fleet has meanwhile rejected that version outright.
China's statement about this mission is false. USS Higgins conducted this freedom of navigation in accordance with international law and then continued on to conduct normal operations. The United States is defending its right to fly, sail, and operate wherever international law allows, as USS Higgins did here. Nothing China says otherwise will deter us.
The Scarborough Shoal lies about 200 kilometres from the Philippine coast and within Manila's 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zone. It is valued for its rich fishing grounds and sheltered lagoon. Although an international tribunal in 2016 ruled China's expansive 9-dash line claimed they had no legal basis, Beijing rejects the decision and has maintained a constant presence at the reef since seizing it from the Philippines in 2012. The air intercept came just 2 days after a tense maritime confrontation in the same waters. On August 11th, the PCG and the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, or the BFR, dispatched 3 vessels to deliver supplies to dozens of Filipino fishermen as part of the government's Kadiwa program. According to Manila, Chinese Coast Guard ships and PLA Navy vessels harassed the mission by using water cannons, performing dangerous maneuvers and shadowing the Philippine ships. In a dramatic turn, 2 Chinese vessels, Plan Ship 164 and CCG Vessel 3104 collided while allegedly trying to block the PCG vessel BRP Suluan. The PCG said the Chinese Coast Guard ship sustained heavy damage, leaving it unseaworthy, while the BRP Suluan's flagpole was also damaged. Beijing has not confirmed the collision, nor whether any crew members were injured, and has ignored Manila's offer of medical and rescue aid. On August 11th, China's Coast Guard said it had taken necessary measures to expel Philippine vessels from the waters, reiterating its sovereignty claim over the shoal. The United States has condemned Beijing's actions. The State Department called them reckless, warning that China's behaviour undermines regional stability. Washington regularly carries out freedom of navigation operations in the South China Sea to challenge what it considers unlawful restrictions on innocent passage imposed by China and other claimants. The Scarborough Shoal dispute remains one of the most volatile flashpoints in the South China Sea, a strategic waterway that carries more than $3 trillion in annual shipborne trade. Alongside the Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei and Indonesia have overlapping claims in the area. The Philippine government refers to parts of the South China Sea within its claimed territory as the West Philippine Sea, covering the Luzon Sea, the Kalayaan Island Group, and Bajo de Masinloc. In July 2016, the Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague ruled decisively in favour of the Philippines, finding no legal basis for China's historic claims. Despite the ruling, Beijing has expanded its maritime footprint, deploying Coast Guard ships, Navy vessels, and maritime militia to maintain its hold on contested areas. The recent aerial intercept and maritime clash underscore the persistent volatility around the shoal and the growing risk of miscalculation between rival forces operating in close proximity. As tensions flare, both Manila and Washington appear determined to push back against China's claims, while Beijing shows no sign of loosening its grip on one of the South China Sea's most hotly contested features.